Hello, everybody. My name is Bill Henninger. I am the Associate Dean of the College of Social and Behavioral Sciences, and I've been asked to tell you a little bit about the majors that we have here at UNI as they relate to the College of Social Behavioral Sciences. So you might be interested in some of these majors, and I want to step you through them, tell you ones that might be related, and then give you the information if you need to contact us about them. So as we go through these majors, one of the things that you'll notice is that we have a ton of different majors. And so sometimes it's overwhelming. Sometimes maybe you haven't heard of one major, and sometimes you don't know how they relate. So I've actually put them together so you can kind of think about, maybe this is a major I'd like, maybe I'd like to minor in this one. And so I'm going to walk through each of them and kind of give you that information. So the first one is, if you're interested in development, family, or society, so working with families, working with children, working with people in various capacities, we have several majors that fit that. The first one is psychology. Our psychology department has tons of classes that are going to look at the individual, how the individual relates to society, but the focus is going to be primarily on the research around that individual. On the society side, if you're interested more on how society impacts the individual, then sociology is going to be the major for you. So again, we're looking at the individual, but it's kind of the backwards look. How does society impact the individual, and how do those two things interrelate? Kind of in the middle of those two is family services, and that is one of the majors that a lot of students have not heard about. So family services is going to look at how individuals develop, how society impacts a family unit, and how those two things go together. If you want to be a counselor, the graduate counseling program at UNI, both in school and mental health counseling, is actually in family services. Now you'll notice we've got a whole bunch of arrows going on here, and what that means is that each one is going to take parts of the other one and work together. And so that lets you know that they work well as minors, and that one may pull some of the more interest areas from the other. Now, with that, we also have a gerontology program. A gerontology is going to look at how people develop all the way from birth until death. There's going to be some focus on aging. Again, it's going to look at the individual and families, but how does aging impact that? We have the only gerontology program in the state. We have a long-term care program, and that is going to look at if you wanted to run a nursing home. We also have a social science program, and that is going to look at more of how do you help people age? How do you help people age in a way that they can feel happy about and allows them to live out their golden years in a fulfilling way? We also have a social work program. So social work is going to be heavily focused on how do we help families when they are in crisis, or how do we help individuals? What is the policy? What are the resources? So oftentimes psychology and family services will try to stop families from going into crisis through education. Once they are in crisis, social work is going to jump in and find them the resources and help them navigate the policy. And then a lot of times family services or psychology will give those services on the back end. We also have a minor in women and gender studies, and that is going to look at how people develop and how that relates to their gender and sexual identity. So now, let's say you're interested in texts and cultures and how they relate to individuals. We have an anthropology program. Anthropology is going to look at the totality of civilization and how it impacts people and how it impacts their development. So it is going to look at when a culture moves from one situation to another, how does that impact people's development? History is going to look at specific time periods and how they affect people. One of the things you might be noticing right now is that the College of Social Behavioral Sciences is all about people and how do we interact with people, and how do people interact with each other, and how they interact with the world around them. So history is going to look at those specific time points and what can that tell us about present day? What can what's happening in present day tell us about those time periods? We also have a history teaching major. And so that is going to look at how teaching people about history. So your high school history teacher, they probably came out of a program like that. We also have a social science teaching, which is going to look more broadly at all the majors that we have in social sciences. Now, let's say you're more interested in laws, leadership, and regulations. We have several majors that would be great for you. We have political science, political communication, public admin. They're all in the political science major. So what do they cover? If you are interested in political science, it is going to look at how people run elections, how they get elected, how our public officials are elected. If you're more interested in how do those campaigns and politicians communicate with the general population, political communication is going to be the major for you. If you are more interested in how laws are created, how laws are thought up, and then how they're ratified, public admin is going to be the major for you. You can minor and major in some of these. You can take some of the classes, so you don't have to pick one, but those are kind of the general way that they break down. Our other major that has to do with laws and leadership and regulations is criminology and criminal justice. So we have a criminal justice major. If you wanted to go on to be a police officer, an FBI agent, work with the state troopers, anything like that, you would go into criminal justice. And that would prepare you to then go out and work as a police officer in various capacities. If you're more interested in the ways laws impact people, and how laws may negatively impact people, how they may negatively impact one population more than the other, or if how removing a law may impact people, or incarceration rates, criminology is more for you. It is the study of how we enforce those laws. So criminal justice is going to be kind of the becoming a police officer. Criminology is going to look more at how those laws being enforced, how they affect the population. Military science, we have a military science program. So you will take classes in that and they would pay for your college and then you would go on into the military. So next bank of majors that we have, space and design. So if you're more interested in how people interact with the world around them and how that helps them develop, or how that interacts with the clothing that they wear, we have two different majors. One is interior design. Interior design is going to look at how people live in the spaces they live in, how those spaces impact them. So think about an older adult. And as they get older, they can no longer walk up and down stairs. Well, what does that mean for them? Does it mean that they can live in the same space that they lived in? Does it mean they have to move? If we could change those spaces, how might it improve their quality of life? And so that is what interior design is all looking at. They have access to several different programs, SketchUp, AutoCAD, Design HD, which are in the computer labs, so you don't have to pay for them. They have lighting labs. They also have a lot of lab time where you spend your time drawing and creating things. And creating spaces to be lived in. Our other program, textiles and apparel, it is going to look at how people, how fashion impacts our culture, how fashion impacts the way people live, and the bidirectional nature of that. So things to remember is that there are textiles components to this. So we have a room full of sewing machines and irons. We have a spectrometer, which looks at colors in different lights. So you get the science side of it, but there is also an apparel side to it. So how does it impact people? And then there's a merchandise side to it. So how do you market things like that that you take in the business college? Our final kind of bank of classes is environment and technology. So if you're interested in how people impact their environment or where people locate where they are, we have geography, GIS, and environmental management. So environmental management is going to look at the way that we preserve the land, we manage the land that we live on, and how people moving and relocating changes the way we conserve that land. We have a geographic information sciences program, and that is all looking at how do we capture data, how do we represent it, how do we process it. So one of our students graduated with a major in this. She's now working for John Deere and working with the GIS on their combines, or the GPS on their combines to identify where they stopped planting and where they need to plant and things like that. They have several drones that they use as part of that major. So you would get to play with drones, fly them around, which I think sounds really fun. And then we have a geography major. So that is looking at how do we use technology to analyze where people locate, why they relocate. Sometimes geography intersects with criminology, and what can we tell from people's patterns of movement and behavior by mapping it out? Does it tell us why crimes are being committed or why someone is doing something? It also looks at why people locate where they are. So those are our majors, but I assume one of the reasons that you are interested in UNI or why you're watching this is what sets UNI apart. So I want to tell you a little bit about that. One is that we have very small class sizes. There's a small class sizes compared to what you would find at a bigger institution like Iowa or Iowa State. Our class sizes are anywhere from 20 to 35. So you're going to get a smaller class experience. What does that mean for you? It means it's going to give you a lot more opportunity to interact with faculty. So 90% of our courses are going to be taught by faculty. That means they are not taught by TAs. They're not taught by graduate students that are training to become faculty. And with that time with faculty, you're going to have more opportunity to work with them. So I have 3 GAs every semester, and in those GAs help me teach. They help me do research, and they learn from that. It helps them learn the content better. But then also when they apply for jobs, I write a really good letter of recommendation for them because I know them really well. The other difference is that we tend to be very affordable. We have scholarships specifically for students who major. And if you fill out the large scholarship application around January 15th. If you put down that you're interested in a CSBS major, it'll put you in the running for those specific scholarships. Final thing I'll say is we have very unique programs. So we're the only undergrad gerontology program in the state. We have an industrial and organizational psychology certificate, which to my knowledge is one of the few in the state, if not the only. GIS, we have drones you can play with. Like I said, we're one of the few places that has that as a major. Our social work and interior design programs are accredited, and that means if you were to up and move to a different state, you would likely be able to move that licensure from state to state. We have the most established criminology criminal justice program in the state. We focus a lot on outreach, specifically in family services and violence prevention, gender violence prevention, mental health. And I'll let you read the other ones. But those are the things about you and I. If anything I said interested you, I have put up a whole bunch of email addresses, and you can see here we have each of the department heads. So if you go to those websites, it'll tell you about the specific majors. And then if you go to email those email addresses, they will get back to you if you have more information. I'll highlight this right down here. This is my email address. William.henniger@uni.edu. Feel free to send me an email if you have any questions or if there's anything I can answer. And I look forward to hearing from you. Thank you.